Since I wasn't able to be with you in school today, I thought I'd show you a couple pictures of Eberbach. That's the sister city to Ephrata, and it's the place where I take students who study German. After 2 or 3 years, we take a trip for 3 weeks at the end of the school year. So it's something for you to consider, and I'd like to show you a little bit about Eberbach. The flag of Eberbach has a wild boar on a river, because Bach means river, and an Eber is a boar, and there's lots of boars in and around Eberbach. When you go to Germany, you'll fly to Frankfurt, just north of the red circle. The red circle indicates about where Eberbach is on the map. And when you arrive, you'll see that there really is a river that runs through Eberbach, and it's surrounded by beautiful mountains. Each day the students are in Eberbach. They are living with a host family, and they visit school with their host brother or sister. This is the school that we visit. It's a gymnasium, and it's a school that prepares students for study at the university. There's 2 parts to the building. There's a front part, and then there's a back part connected by a walkway. Where you see a courtyard, that's where students come out and have recess when they have a break. When you go inside the school, you'll see they have a mural painted with the sign of Ephrata on it, representing farmland up in the left-hand corner, Bethany Church on the right-hand corner, the Methodist Church in the top right, because that's a sign that our cities are connected. There's also an Eber, or a boar, in the school. The town of Eberbach decided several years ago to have about 50 boars made, and different businesses have them painted and outside their building. It's kind of a challenge for my students to walk around town and see how many Ebers they can really find. Even the mayor of Eberbach has a Eber, or boar, in his office building. It's not unusual for students after school every day to go out for ice cream, but it's not like our ice cream in America. They eat gelato, or Italian ice. Every year I take students to Eberbach. We also make a field trip to Heidelberg. Heidelberg is one of Germany's oldest cities. You can see that it looks a lot different than Ephrata. There's a big old castle ruin up on the hill to the left. And if you look to the very top of the mountain, you'll see some spires up to the top of the left. We also take a ride up to the top of that mountain. The town of Heidelberg itself is really, really beautiful. And you can tell by the architecture that Heidelberg is at least 1,000 years old. That's part of the old castle that we visit when we visit. And here's our ride in a funicular up the mountain. You can see the town of Eberbach through the window way down below. Here's some girls that I took along. One of my favorite things to do when I'm in Germany is to go out to eat at the bakeries. Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte, or Black Forest cherry cake, is one of my favorites. That's what it looks like inside. Don't you want a piece too? Flower boxes decorate all the buildings in Germany. It doesn't matter whether it's your house or a government building or even a bridge. They're famous for having flowers everywhere. Bikes are also common. It doesn't look like Ephrata, does it? But in Germany, everybody likes to ride bike. One of the things I do when I'm with my students in Germany is take them on a trip. And for the last 2 times I've been with students, they've decided they wanted to go down south of Germany to the Alps. One time we took them kayaking on the lake. And if you look real closely above the kayaks, you can see a castle in the background, nestled in between the 2 hills. Again, sorry, we're out for ice cream again. But the next day we went up to the castle. You have to hike to get there. It's way up on top of the mountain. And that's what it looks like from a distance. It's Germany's iconic castle. It's called Neuschwanstein, and I think you learned about that in our game. This is the castle that Walt Disney saw when he visited Germany and decided Cinderella should have a castle that looks just like it. This is inside the courtyard, and this is what you'll see when you're at the top of the castle looking out over the valley. That's from the gate. You can see how the gate has been raised for us to be able to get in. That's looking at it from our hike below. The next day we were in the Alps. We took a tram ride, or a cable car ride, up to the mountaintop. The students wanted to go hiking. This was our view when we got to the top. We had a good day. Here's a young student of mine by the name of Colin. Our destination for hiking was at the top of that mountain behind him. You see there's a cross on top of it. Most mountains that have been climbed have crosses on them so that people know which peaks have been climbed already. That's where we were headed. At some points it got kind of tricky, and they had put cables up so nobody fell. When we got to the top, or at least near the top, this young girl didn't really feel like going all the way. There we are. And that was our view. Pretty spectacular. Coming down was a little hairy, but beautiful all the same. And that's the group that made it to the top. In our last days in Eberbach, we went to visit a bakery. This couple, Kurt and Heidi Beisel, are descendants of Konrad Beisel, who founded the Ephrata Cloister. Konrad, who founded the cloister, came from Eberbach, and these are his descendants. Kurt and Heidi are master bakers. They're standing here. Kurt is at least 89 years old by now, and his wife Heidi. They still work in their bakery, and whenever we're there, they give us a tour of their bakery. They show us how to make apple strudel, and they treat us to whatever cake that we'd like to eat that day. Everybody gets their choice. And here we are sitting with them after having good conversation. They also made every student a replica of a boar, just as a souvenir to take along. Here's the real thing. I went to a boar park where they have them behind some fences, so that almost like a petting zoo where people can go and see the boars, and the little ones in the front, the striped ones, those are the babies. And our last trip, when I go on the exchange, is a trip to this little town of Rothenburg. And you can see just how small the town is. It's all within the walls of that city. This town looks like it did 1,000 years ago, because what bombing happened to it during World War II, they have replicated to make it look just as old as it did 1,000 years ago. All the roofs are made of red tile. This is the market square from looking down from the church tower that I climbed. This is the town hall, and again you can see the row of flower boxes all along it on the balcony. And you can still even walk the wall that surrounded the town 1,000 years ago. Walls would have been built to protect the towns from robbers and invaders, and this city is unique in that its wall of 1,000 years ago is still standing, and you can walk around the edge. After 3 weeks, it's time to go. The Americans and the Germans have usually become best buddies. Goodbyes are always hard, but when we leave in the summer, at least we know that the Germans are going to come to us in October and we get to have a reunion. The harder part is when the Germans leave from Ephrata to go back home to Germany at the end of October, because then they don't know when they're going to see each other again. Here's a boar statue in Eberbach as a replica of its symbol for the town. I hope you think about the exchange in a couple years. You need to take German if that's something that you're interested in, and you need to stick with it, and you need to work hard. Learning a language isn't the easiest thing in the world. It takes some work, and you need to be prepared whether you're going to take Spanish or German, to do homework and practice at home. But it can be done. Hope to see you next year.